what other practical tips could you give us for like being able to manage the emotional upheaval of all these things?
Yeah, so I mentioned about music. Music is definitely a great intervention for anyone. And so I always say, what music works for you? What really calms you down? So it's everybody needs to have a go-to, always. Everybody needs a go-to. The children need a go-to. So it's great about as a family sitting down and everybody developing their 5 essential go-tos. So it's like, all right, I know I'm stressed. I know I'm feeling it. All right, I got 5 things I can do. Let's whip out that post-it. Let's whip out that note that's on our smartphone. Let's go find it. What is my 5 essential things that I can do? I always tell people, COVID-19 or not, it's like everybody needs to know their happiness factor, right? And it's on demand. So I do that with my students. I do that with family members. I do that with loved ones. It's always when I see you, I'm like, what's your happiness factor? On a scale of 1 to 5, where are you right now? With 1 being low, 5 being high. I just asked that question this morning and somebody said a 2. And my response is, what would put you at a 3? And so we had that little conversation. It's like, oh, okay, all right. So go ahead and implement that, right? So we have the power to control. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it, right? So it's our job to figure out how happy am I? What makes me happy? What can I do in this moment, right? To get to 5, right? I love 5. So it's like people say, oh, you're always smiling. I'm like this because I'm always working on my happiness factor. So I'm always asking myself, how am I feeling right now in this moment? If I'm a 2, I'm asking myself, how do I get to a 3? Because I control the situation. I determine what this situation means to me. And that's not to say that we don't deal with these very real things that are going on, but we certainly can have the right attitude in doing it. So do I get an ulcer and I'm dealing with this problem? Or am I happy and I'm able to clearly think through and strategize to be able to deal with this problem? So am I thinking clearly? Because when we're stressed, oftentimes we are not getting oxygen to the brain. So that's some little neuroscience of talking about what happens to us when we experience traumas like COVID-19. There is the issue of whether or not we are thinking clearly, if our decision making is good. Are we clouded, what they call a fugue, where we have cloudy, murky thinking. So we want to be clear-headed, even in times of disasters, even in times of stress. We want to learn to breathe through that, and we want to think about how we can handle the situation. So I'm not saying, oh, just be happy and forget the whatever it is that's causing the stress. No, I'm saying that when you're clear-headed, you can handle your problems a whole lot better and deal with it. And whether that's resistance, right? And being able to confront people around injustices, absolutely. But do it with a clear head, do it strategically, and make sure that even when you're resisting with a warm and loving heart in being able to do that and not getting stressed out, because we know that continuous stress can begin to cause physical problems, right, that may endure, and we don't want that. So I would say definitely thinking about what are my 5 go-tos? Is it music? Is it walking, exercising, dancing, right? Is it calling a friend? So do you have a list of people who are your go-to, right? Not the people you call and go, girl, you talk about that again, right? Enough. Not those people. Call the people who say, I'm glad you called me. Go ahead, tell me what's going on. I'm gonna listen, right? And then the people who say, you'll get through it. You'll be all right. It'll be okay. I'm glad you called. So what are those 5 things that are the go-tos that help us to make it through, to cope, to be resilient when we're facing these difficult times? Life is about difficult times, so we can't avoid that. If we're living and breathing as human beings, we will encounter challenges. And they can be great, like COVID-19, or they can be other things like losing our favorite pen. I've been there, trust me, lost my favorite pen. And it was distressful until I got myself together. But it can be anything between those things. The loss of a pet, the loss of a relationship. It can be the loss of a lot of things that can cause that kind of distress. And we need to understand, yes, everybody, children, adults, we need to have those 5 go-tos of how do I move to another level of happiness? How do I pick myself up and move forward with these things? And then also, of course, sometimes things are really, really rough and we can't. So how do we pick up the phone and call and find a professional who can help us to move forward with that and to be able to resolve some of these issues and the distress that we're feeling? And how do we do that? And I've talked before in other spaces about how and why do we want to feel good about mental health professionals. Here are 2 things. One, we should be as careful in picking our mental health professional as we are with picking shoes. I've had people who said, oh, I tried counseling once and it doesn't work. And I say, right, okay. The shoes you have on, how many stores did you go to and how many shoes did you try on? And they're like, oh no, I got to get it right. I like my shoes. I said, you're going to take more time getting your shoes than you are finding a person who's right for you. So it may take going through a couple of people to be able to find just the right person that fits you like a shoe. And that person gets you, they understand you, they share your values and so on, and they're very competent at what they do. So it may take a minute, that's one. The second is the idea. And I used to say to my clients who would come in and they're not certain that they wanted counseling at all. They're like, oh, I'm just gonna try this, but I don't believe you. And I would say, okay, imagine yourself driving on a lonely road at night. You get a flat tire, your phone isn't getting a signal. And you're like, okay, I got to change this tire. You reach and you go to look at your tire and you go to get your toolbox in the trunk of your car and it's a sewing kit. And I'm looking like, why do you have a sewing kit? And it's like, hey, this is what my parents gave me. This is what my parents told me to do all the time. So this is my kit, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, yeah, you probably could sew up that tire. Might take you a while. You might have difficulty. I get you. But if I could show you another way to deal with that flat tire that might get you where you want to go, would you be interested? And they say yes. And I said, well, that's where people are. They work with things the way somebody has taught them how to do it. And usually those are the people that they love. So they trust them, but it may not be the right tool for the problem that they have. And so I can just be somebody that maybe give you another toolbox, perhaps, to help you to get through this. And that's what mental health professionals will do. And then get you on your way to go on about your business and be able to take care of things and give you the tools that you need to do it yourself in the future and not be stuck trying to deal with us at all times. So 5 things, go to, and if you exhaust those 5 things and you're still struggling, then seek a professional. And remember that maybe the first person isn't the person for you, but think about shoes and you'll find the right person.
Okay, so I've been writing these in the chat, right? So you said 5 essential go-tos. And I put 1, singing, music, dancing. 2, monitor your happiness factor. 3, call a friend, a real friend. 4, find a good mental health professional. And what would be 5?
5 would definitely be understand when you need to be alone. So know yourself. So know when you need to be time. And I would say vacillate between the 2. Understand when you need to be with others and when you need to be alone. So know yourself, know when you need to be alone. There are times when you do. You need to go into that quiet space by yourself and meditate. Or if for you because of your faith, you pray. I was just thinking today about it's the beginning of Ramadan, and I was thinking it's also Lent, and I was thinking, this is a great time for people to get into their spiritual frame of mind. There's a thing called, just this huge spiritual wave is happening right now because of at least those two. There may be other religious holidays that are going on, but this is a great time for you to do anything, for you to fast, for you to decide you're going to diet, for you to decide that you're going to be more mindful, that you're going to learn yoga. It's a great spiritual moment where if you weren't that successful before, there's so many people who, because of their particular faith, are praying and are very prayerful right now. Between Lent and Ramadan, it's a great time for that. So I say that because this fifth thing of going into this space, right, it's needed. When I was president of the American Counseling Association, there were a lot of things that happened in the world globally. And I remember Trayvon Martin was killed during that time. And it happened like months after I became president. And I was thinking, oh my God, I just got here. And now I'm going to offend a bunch of people. We had about 55,000 members at that time. And I'm sure they all didn't share my beliefs or anything. But I felt in my heart that I needed to say something. I needed to put out a statement about that. And before I did, I went into a quiet space and I prayed and I said, God, give me the strength and give me the vision of what needs to be said. And with that, I wrote something. I gave it to the CEO who manages staff. And he's like, Cirecie, we can't put this out. And I said, I'm sorry, this is what needs to be done right here, right now. And so they checked with their legal staff of, how likely are we going to be sued? Because I said all this stuff. And they put it out. And I got such an outpouring, I cried, of members saying, I thought I should have a response to this, but I didn't know what I was supposed to say or do about it. Thank you so much for being a leader. Thank you so much for stepping out there. But I say that because I went into that quiet space to think clearly about what I need to do as a leader. What did I need to say? What needed to happen? And I didn't want to be reactionary. I wanted to go, I wanted to be clear-headed. So sometimes we need to go to that quiet place and just renew, restore, right? And revive. And then other times we need to be with people.